Set APR. And back to you, Cam.
Well, that traffic is still clearing out off of I-80. It's kind of just, it's moving unusually, I'll admit that much. It's going eastbound on I-80. It's now starting just about at the State Street exit, and it's going to last up until the mouth of Parley's Canyon, and then it's going to start to get patchy all the way up I-80 until just about Summit Park. Taking a look over at I-215's east belt heading northbound, it's still quite delayed if you're headed northbound from just about 4,500 south to the mouth of Parley's Canyon, and I wouldn't expect that to clear up for a little while. And taking a look over at I-15, it's actually looking okay. I-15, Point of the Mountain, of course, you've got some delays there. A little farther up north, ahead of the south interchange, nothing unexpected. And then from there, you should be fine getting downtown with just a couple of patches of slowing. Andy?
North 15 still slow, approaching some road work or a crash in Farmington just before Lagoon, and South 15 and 215 are both slow in North Salt Lake as you come out of Davis County. Upgrade your water with Culligan with top quality systems for homes and businesses, softeners, filtration, bottle-free coolers, and bottled water delivery. Local experts, trusted solid solutions. Visit CulliganSLC.com.
We'll get up to 100 today, and that's the last triple-digit day for a while. We'll be in the upper 90s for the rest of the 7-day. A chance of rain every afternoon this week. Right now, 86 degrees downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's GOP lawmakers are expressing support for the president's decision to drastically scale back the size of Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante National Monuments. Utah Governor Spencer Cox posted on X saying the changes will allow agencies, quote, to direct limited resources toward caring for these specific sites rather than millions of surrounding acres. The Utah House Majority posted saying a more focused approach allows management, enforcement, and limited resources to be concentrated where they matter most. We're also hearing from state Democrats after the president shrunk Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. Utah House Democratic leader Angela Romero says the decision was concerning from both an indigenous perspective and a conservation perspective.
Our tribal nations that exist in these territories have always been stewards of our public lands, and they wanted to make sure that they're protecting them and preserving them for future generations. And many of these spaces are sacred.
Romero says she's worried about the land being overdeveloped and the consequences that could follow. But she also emphasized that it was disrespectful to not involve tribal leaders who are impacted the most. Utah Fire Watch, the Stookie Fire in Tooele County has reached 6,600 acres. Flames are still out of control, but Utah Fire Info says no structures are threatened. The Buck Basin Fire is at about 170 acres, and the Babylon Fire is still burning at 106,000 acres and is only 50% contained. A few smaller starts yesterday. Boulder Top Fire in Garfield County is at about 20 acres, and the Grizzly Ridge Fire in the Vernal Ranger District caught fire only burning about 1.5 acres. Your money at this moment. Let's see where the market is right now. The Dow is down 21 points. We're at 52,476. Coming up, we've got a chance of rain every day for the next 7 days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Well, your biggest trouble is still getting to Parley's and through Parley's Canyon, both northbound I-215's eastbound and eastbound I-80, seeing some pretty hefty delays approaching the mouth of the canyon. And then once you get there, you're still very slow till you pass the Mountain Dell Golf Course. Then you got some scattered delays all the way over to the US 40 turnoff from there. Those are all residual from a fire that was happening earlier this morning. It's closing eastbound I-80 down to only one lane, and that's why those delays have built up. Northbound I-15 really clearing out, though, through Utah County, just a little slow approaching Pleasant Grove Boulevard. Then you're in the clear all the way up to the south interchange, where you run into some normal delays as well. Southbound I-15 seeing some pretty hefty slowdowns from the north interchange down towards 600 north coming in from Davis County. And northbound I-15 still has that slow spot in Farmington. It was a disabled vehicle just before you got to Lagoon, and it's still a little slow there. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
100 today, but then we're in the 90s for the rest of the week. We've got a chance of rain this evening. In fact, there's a chance of a thunderstorm every day for the next 7 days. Right now, it's 86 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So I'm getting some monumental whiplash today.
Monumental.
Over the president's executive order shrinking Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante monuments. But it's not just a size reduction. It's just an absolute decimation, really, of the previous size of those monuments.
Yeah, we didn't expect it to be such a large reduction, especially in as much as the president had reduced these two monuments before during his first term by a much lesser amount. But boy, they're each like a tenth of their previous size, even though he did. I think he shrunk the one only by maybe 50% the first time.
Yeah, it was like, I think 47%. So it's really interesting. So look, I've said this before, but I see this changing again with the next administration. So the whiplash, I don't think, is over. It's not over yet.
Yeah, I think that's the problem when you look at these, because it's a presidential decision ultimately. We're talking about the Antiquities Act. It's been going on for a very long time, where presidents can and have, during their administration, at least a lot of them, set aside public land for the preservation of antiquities, for preservation of native sites and whatnot. But we have not seen, until Trump, a president setting aside a previous order or designation.
He's the first one to shrink them.
And then, of course, Clinton enters the Grand Staircase. Obama does Bears Ear. Trump reduces them. Biden puts them back. They're back down again. This has got to be awful for the people in those areas, especially if you're doing any sort of tourist trade down there, to not know what you're doing.
I know. It makes it hard to plan, I think, if things change with every administration. And I think that is one of the biggest, and I feel really valid criticisms of the Antiquities Act, is by giving the president this executive or this authority to create monuments with an executive order, then you just go the back and forth. So you mentioned President Trump. He's the first one to shrink them. There has been legal questions, and it hasn't gone up to the Supreme Court, but legal questions on whether a president can actually do this. Well, this is time number 2.
Yeah, maybe it will. The question has always been, can a president do it in the first place? And one of the things that I understand has been a pushback to these designations is that the Antiquities Act is sort of written to make it the least
The smallest,
the smallest
area possible.
So
yeah.
you're protecting Native American sites, which are not limited to a small area or an individual village. Right. I mean, it's a broader area. Although I would say that there have been some concerns that the two areas combined were something like the size of Delaware or something. Each area was about the size of Delaware. So they were big swaths.
Delaware's a small state, by the way. But yeah, no, it's big. I mean, it reduces it by 3 million acres. That's a lot of acreage.
What I don't understand is, from my own perspective as an outdoors person, I don't know the downside to the designation. I mean, it seems like they're still open to public use. They're still open to recreation, hunting, fishing, camping, that type of thing. It does allow a higher level of preservation in terms of what people can do to the land, in terms of drilling, mining, that type of thing.
Right.
So it preserves it for future generations. But it's not like they're taking it away from the public access. They're really not. It's still recreation property in every respect.
I don't think that's accurate, actually. So I know that there are people who say, well, okay, the BLM is going to run it all. But I read the executive orders from yesterday, and there's one for each monument, but this is the one for Bears Ears. It says revising the boundaries of the monument will also unburden public national forest system lands that can and should be put to a higher priority use. And then says this, the Bears Ear region contains several resources vital to energy and resource independence and in turn critical to national security. These resources, which include critical minerals, create jobs, fuel prosperity, and are essential to important sectors of the economy of the United States. So I think right there it says that they expect that we will be mining critical minerals out of that area.
Even the areas that are still designated?
Well, no, because those are much smaller.
Right,
but
right.
the areas outside of that,
Correct,
right? So
correct.
part of the ones that used to be part of Bears Ears but
Right.
won't be, it's actually 60 days before it takes effect. But saying that you can go and mine. So some people are still saying, okay, well, even the broader areas now, it's run by the BLM, and so there are still protections. I would say that the actual executive order kind of flies in the face of that argument.
Right. No, and I understand what we're saying. I think we're both saying the same thing, but it does certainly opens it up to some concern that what concerns me the most, I guess, is the native population was not a part of this decision. They were a huge part in the creation of these monuments, especially Bears Ears, but they haven't had a lot to do with what happened yesterday.
Well, they didn't have anything to do with it, and that's one of the complaints, right, or criticisms is like, look, you didn't actually bring all the parties to the table. And that was one of the things I think that the state had tried to do previously, but the executive order, again, on Bears Ears, there used to be a Bears Ears Commission, which consisted of representatives from the Hopi Nation, Navajo Nation, Ute Mountain, Ute Tribe, Ute Indian Tribe of the Uinta, Ouray, and Zuni Tribe, completely disbanded. Like, the document just does away with it, the executive order. Disbands the Bears Ears Commission.
And we may get somebody from the tribal council or a representative later on in the program today, if we can get someone just to get their take on it. But this is concerning. I don't know. It's not unexpected.
No.
Although the broad nature of what happened is unexpected. The fact that Trump reduced them by 90% is really. I thought he would just go to what he did in 2017.
Right. I mean, I thought so too, right? That would make sense to me. But look, there have been, of course, Republicans who are very excited about this. All of Utah's federal delegation, plus current federal delegation, plus Governor Cox and House Speaker Mike Schultz were there for the signing of these executive orders. They all praise it. There are, in fact, the state of Utah sent out an official news release saying, yippee. But Democrats in Utah and elsewhere, conservative groups, conservation groups, environmentalist groups, they have real concerns. Representative Angela Romero, she not only is the House Minority Leader in Utah, but she actually is a registered member of a Native American tribe. And she says one of the things that I, again, think is a valid critique of the Antiquities Act, this back and forth with every administration has to stop. And then she said these lands deserve the protections that come with national monument status. And then the federal government should honor tribal nations' wishes by protecting these sacred lands.
I'm wondering if Congress just needs to step in at some point and make a designation, or whether they even have the appetite to do that, because we know that if a Democrat is elected in 2028,
they're going to change it.
They're going to change it back to something much larger, and we just can't keep doing this because it's unfair to the people down there. It's unfair to the businesses. It's unfair to the people that work for the Parks Department and for the state parks and for the federal lands, because they don't know what they're doing from one year to the next, and some of the businesses down there rely on that tourist trade, and some rely on other things. So you kind of go back and forth. It's just a real problem. I don't know. It was disappointing.
I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that it happened. I was surprised by how much they were reduced, and I'm really disappointed that they didn't include everybody who should have been at the table.
Yeah. Well, when we come back after the break, let's go down to southern Utah and get a perspective from a commissioner in San Juan County, how the locals are feeling about the monument reduction, how they have been affected by the back and forth. We'll find out more when we come back.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. And I was thinking the other day, Monty, that every water softener I've ever seen has a giant tank that holds bags and bags of water softener salt. Well, except one, the one I have in my home. And I picture this, my Connecticut has the little salt tank about the size of a paper shredder or a small trash can.
Well, Doug, that's because the Connecticut water softeners use so much less salt, an average of 70% less than other water softeners. So you don't need a tank that holds 6 or 8 bags of salt.
I love the fact that it's so easy to fill because I don't have to lift those bags up so high, and it seems like those bags of salt, well, they're getting heavier every year.
Yes, it does. When you're using 1 bag of salt for every 3 a regular water softener uses, there's no need for a large salt tank.
Tired of lifting those heavy salt bags to fill your giant water softener salt tank? Go to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
When you see this in your kitchen,
the stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
You hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves, or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about, what am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son. And that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard. Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, the Bears Ears and the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monuments have now been significantly reduced in size. Utah's Republican congressional delegation, as well as Republican state leaders, praised the move from President Trump. They say it will now protect sacred sites, still protect them, but allow more local control over the areas.
So monumental whiplash. We're continuing our special coverage this morning. The executive orders were signed by President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday at the urging of state and federal leaders. But how are locals feeling about it?
Well, let's hear from one of our local leaders down there. We've got Lori Mon, Commissioner in San Juan County. Commissioner Mon, thanks for joining us this morning.
We think
we have her. We'll get her here in just a minute. We have one of the sites.
There. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
I
great.
get a better connection.
No, you're great. How are you?
Okay.
Hey, so
Great, thank you.
Give
How
us
are
your
you?
sort of initial take on this, what you thought, and maybe if there was any surprise at all.
No surprise. Of course, living down here, it's different living here than hearing about it. And so when you live down here in a county that has approximately 14,000 people with, 8,000 acres, it's very difficult to manage when it's in a national monument, when all that is tied up. And especially not just managing it, but also on an economic side as well, trying to allow people to make a living on the land. And yet at the same time, you're fighting people that only want specific access to that land. So it's a challenge.
So, Commissioner, one of the things for me as I have seen this is now the fourth executive order that changes the size of these monuments. I anticipate that unless something happens legislatively, which I haven't heard any rumblings of, that it's going to change again with the next administration. How does that affect your local community?
It's very difficult. It's hard to know what to plan and what to plan ahead, and especially when we're working with our federal partners, with the Forest Service and the BLM. I do not like the flip-flop at all. We'd love to see it just stay, one size. So we kind of know from, if I'm not in here in office in how many years from now, that someone else can come in and just plan on the same thing. This going back and forth is very difficult for everyone.
What does the going back and forth literally mean, though, Commissioner, in terms of when it's as the federal designation, when it goes back to the state? How does that affect, in terms of what you do, how you all manage the land, what difference does it really make on a day-to-day basis?
So, for example, let's just say you have, the size it was before yesterday. So we have very limited resources. So when people go out there in those wilderness areas and those far stretching areas where there's very little access, very little roads, and then they get in trouble and they need help, well, then it relies on all the local resources. And the other problem is we don't get a lot of reimbursement from the federal government for those lands. And so it is the county's responsibility to continue to manage those lands. So we have to use our resources. Our teams have to go in, whether it be search and rescue or whatever it may be. I mean, we work collaboratively with the other two, with Forest Service and with the BLM. But those particular things, when it comes to safety and the people, and then you have people coming in and out, bringing trash, and I don't think a lot of people understand how much land it is. And so when you have it sized down, I mean, you have just a better area to manage, I guess is what I'm saying, because that would be outside. Let's just say there were grazing permits. Then you have ranchers that can manage their grazing permits. It's just multiple use, and it's spread across and doesn't land entirely on a county that we're one of the poorest counties in the state.
So, Commissioner, one of the things that the executive order about Bears Ears said was really mentioning the presence of critical minerals. Is that something that you think is an opportunity down there to access critical minerals?
There was a lot of mining here previously, and there's a lot of opportunity to go back to mining. I'm not saying it will happen or not. We just have a mine that took a new ownership and is moving and has great economic impact in our county, which is great for people to be able to come and stay and work, and great job opportunities. I don't see the landscape with mining all over it. That's not what I see. I see it as a shared landscape that we all can have a piece of. I don't see one group or another taking it over, if that paints kind of a better picture for you.
No, it does. It paints a very good picture. What about the picture of how the local businesses down there have relied on the tourist industry, and does this affect the fact that these monuments are now smaller, or do you think it will make any difference in terms of what happens for the tourists?
I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, because if you come down here, yeah, absolutely, you can go and see the monuments, you can see everything within them, but there is so much land and so much area to explore. Whether you're in the monument or out of it, it's still public lands. Everyone still has access to those lands, whether they're in the monument or out of the monument, if they're public lands.
Can I ask you a question about how you in your county have worked with tribal leaders in the area to ensure that sacred spaces are still protected?
The interesting thing about that is that the people that live here, I feel, are very respectful. I mean, you're going to always have an outlier, but we respect the fact that there's many cultures here, and it's not just one. There's tribal, there's pioneer heritage, there's so many cultures, and I think it's finding a balance of being respectful to all of those cultures. With the new designation, if they follow the map there is, it would follow what the Antiquities Act should do, and it should protect specific spots, specific places. It should not be a massive land grab. And so with respect to all the cultures, those new boundaries will continue to protect those cultural sites. So I feel like we were very cognizant, or President Trump's very cognizant of that. And so when we look at what needs to be protected, I still protected. And people also have to remember that there are protections that were prior to establishing a monument. Those protections did not go away. So look at it like this. So we have protections that exist. A monument comes on, it's another layer of protection. So we're not removing any protections that existed previously.
Let me ask another question, and we'll let you go. But can you tell us what the next 60, 90 days looks like for the county? Or will there be some changes that you all will be implementing, or is this just is it just sort of a designation, and then you kind of wait and see what happens?
A lot of this will affect the BLM. So we have relations with BLM, and so we will be having conversations with them because it does affect a lot of their land. As far as the commission goes, I think in our minds, what we would like to see is this is not going away, which we don't want it to go away. What we would like to see is to have a place where you could come down to San Juan County. We would have a visitor center that would highlight all the cultures, the reason why this county is the way it is today, from the past to the future. We would like to see the showcasing of the people that came and had such a hard time coming here, but establishing what we have today. And then the public can be informed of, where they're headed and what they're going into. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as getting involved with the BLM and setting up their designation. We're going to let them do that, and we'll work with them and come to us on that. But we feel that there's a place at the table for each partner, I guess, in allowing to see what's going to go forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner. That was Commissioner Lori Mon, San Juan County.
Good perspective. I mean, it was interesting to hear that perspective because they've had to live through these changes back and forth.
Yeah, and as expected, she says that whiplash is difficult.
Right.
Sure. I would anticipate that it would be. Okay, when we come back, we're going to continue our in-depth discussion on this move to reduce the size of Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. Why are environmental and conservation groups opposed to the president's order? We're going to get the other side when we come back next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, another person has been shot dead by ICE agents. We're now hearing from witnesses to Monday's shooting involving a driver in Maine.
Daniel Boucher says he saw agents pull the driver out.
He put him on the ground, and I heard the young man say, "I tried to stop." Clearly heard him say that.
Boucher says one ICE agent claimed the man tried to run him over.
He was bloodied, his face was bloody, it was awful.
The car's windshield seen riddled with bullet holes. ABC affiliate WMTW identifying the victim of the shooting as Joan Sebastian Guerrero from Colombia. Immigration advocates say he had a social security number and was authorized to work in the U.S. and was on his way to work.
ABC's Victor Kendo reporting. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced today they have more full-time missionaries serving around the world than they have ever had before.
Right now, there are more than 88,500 missionaries serving full-time. That exceeds the previous record set in 2014 by about 500. In June, Church President Dallin H. Oaks told new mission leaders, "In the coming weeks, we will have more missionaries than at any time in the history of the church." A release from the church says part of the increase comes from lowering the age for young women to begin their service to the age of 18. This new milestone comes just as the church is opening 55 new missions around the world. Don Brinker-Hoff, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow right now is up 16 points. We're at 52,516. Coming up, we've got a chance of thunderstorms late in the day every day this week. We'll get a look at KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
April 8th, 2026 is the day I decided to do something about my weight and contacted Sota Diet Nutrition and got on their plan then. It was something that I decided to do because I could not lose the weight myself. And I didn't need to lose a lot, but just enough to make sure that I felt more comfortable and could get into the slacks that I hadn't been able to wear since I turned 60. So in the intervening 3 months, I've lost 30 pounds. I've been able to keep all of that off thanks to Sota Diet Nutrition. It was something I wanted to do and do without having to get on medication, without having to get injections. Sota had a plan for me. Didn't have to guess what to eat. Didn't have to use generic meal plans. Didn't have to do calorie counting. I stayed full. I had energy. I felt in control again. They set up a diet for me with a nutritionist and said, look, you can go to your store, your supermarket, and buy these products, and this is what you can do to eat and save and lose the weight that I needed. It worked out well for me. I lost over 4 pounds a week for 7 weeks. Sota Diet Nutrition, SOTA, say it with me, state of the art.
Amanda, every business needs IT help. And sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff, but sometimes you don't. Or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure. So both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. And back to you, Cormac.
Still pretty troublesome getting through Parley's Canyon due to residual delays from the vehicle or the brush fire earlier this morning. But it starts at the mouth of the canyon now, no longer back on I-80 through South Salt Lake or I-215's East Belt. Once you're at the mouth of the canyon, it's slow until you pass the Mountain Dale Golf Course. And then again, you get delayed as you approach Kimball Junction and the US 40 turnoff. Northbound I-15, still seeing that delay going from Centerville into Farmington. Now it looks like it's due to construction. And South 15, this is North 15 again in Utah County from 2100 north all the way up to a crash that is just after Main Street in Lehigh. Looks like they've moved that over and they're blocking the left shoulder now, so that's causing some pretty dense delays, but not too long stretching. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, we'll get up to 100 degrees, then we'll stay in the upper 90s for the rest of the week, but we do have a chance of thunderstorm every afternoon or evening this week. Best chance looks like Friday. Right now, it's 86 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Environmental groups around Utah and the West are decrying the Trump administration's move to significantly reduce the size of 2 national monuments here in the state, Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante.
And a lot of groups say that the president's order opens up the areas to more development, more mineral exploitation, destroying thousands of acres of sacred sites to local indigenous tribes.
So we're going to talk to somebody on the other side of the argument that we just had last segment. This one is the conservationist angle. So joining us now is Kate Grotzinger, Communications Director for the Center for Western Priorities. Thanks for joining us, Kate.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Can you give us your initial reaction to the reduction by almost 90% of these 2 national monuments? What was your first reaction?
Yeah, I was surprised. This went farther than the last time President Trump tried to reduce these monuments, a lot farther. And he didn't really provide any justification as to why he went even farther this time around. It feels very arbitrary. So I was shocked. I was disappointed. What a lot of people may not know is that over the past 4 to 5 years, or maybe a little bit less than that for Bears Ears, but for both of these monuments, the federal government has been working with tribes to create a management plan for each monument, in addition to other stakeholders like recreation guides, grazers, county land managers, to create really comprehensive management plans for both of these monuments with the boundaries that were in place. All of that work will now go out the window. So it really is just a huge loss of literal years of meetings and compromises and science that's been done to create really responsible plans for how we manage these literal irreplaceable landscapes.
What other kinds of concerns does the Center for Western Priorities have with respect to this just shrink of that area? I mean, it was so broad. It was even like you said, last time Trump shrunk the one area by half. This time he shrunk it by 90%.
Yeah, I'll speak more to Bears Ears because I actually lived in San Juan County where that monument is located, right on the edge of the monument for 3 years. There are thousands of cultural sites, cliff dwellings, kivas, just, all of these ancestral Puebloan sites in the monument that are now not protected. Petroglyphs, tons of petroglyphs that will be losing protections. And, what really is concerning about this is that we never know how international markets for minerals and oil and gas and coal are going to go. We have a sense of coal, but uranium is a real threat to the Bears Ears landscape. And if nuclear energy does take off in the next, it really doesn't matter when, at any point in the future, there are any mining claims that are made in these areas that are unprotected will mean uranium mining in the Bears Ears landscape. So that's just one example of why this matters. Now all of that land that was unprotected, about almost 3 million acres in total between the two monuments, is open to mining claims, oil and gas leasing, coal leasing, and once those claims are in place, even if the monuments are restored, those will be grandfathered in. So there's a real threat and a real loss here of protection.
So, Kate, do you have a response to the argument coming from the Republican side that is saying BLM is still in charge of the land, they're still under protection, nothing really is going to change except for the executive order on Bears Ears says that it can be open to mining critical minerals? What's your response to BLM being in charge?
Sure. So there's a sort of insider joke about the Bureau of Land Management. We call it the Bureau of Livestock and Mining because it was not created to protect land. It was created back in the previous century to literally, extract from the land. Like that's what the BLM does for the most part. They rubber stamp permits for drilling, mining, and grazing. So it's not protected. BLM land isn't protected. It can also be sold. It could be sold into private ownership under the current law. So there's no protection there.
Does it concern you that they didn't have representation from the indigenous tribes yesterday, or it's seemingly much input?
Yeah, I don't think they could have. They could not have gotten any tribal leaders there because the tribes support the protections for these monuments. I think it was really telling that it was just the Utah delegation. One thing we know from polling is that the majority of Utahns, over 70% of Utahns, support keeping the former boundaries, the bigger boundaries for both of these monuments. And so it really is just a really small but vocal part of the Republican base here in the state that wants these protections removed. And that's who was being represented by the folks standing up there yesterday.
Can I ask you a question about the whiplash? So this is the fourth time that these monuments have been impacted by executive orders, creation, shrinkage, back to the original plus a little more shrinkage again. I expect with the next administration, we're going to see another expansion. What is your take from your organization on this type of whiplash?
The first thing that I think of is what a waste of resources in time. There are really dedicated public servants who work for the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service in both Southeast and Southwest Utah who are charged with managing these landscapes. And now they have worked for years to put together a plan that attempts to appease everyone and contains a lot of compromises, but most importantly contains true input from the tribes for the very first time. These are both the first time that tribes have had a real say in managing public lands here in the United States. And those plans go out the window. And now they have to start over from scratch. And it's just an absolute waste of time for our public servants, a waste of our taxpayer dollars. There's no real benefit to the people of Utah in shrinking these boundaries. Our recreation economy is bigger than our oil and gas economy in the southern part of this state. So it's just ridiculous. There's nothing gained from this. It really is. It's a culture war issue and it's a political football. And our state leaders continue to use it that way. And it's very irresponsible and it hurts the people on the ground.
Kate, we've got about a minute left, but when the president signed the order, he said this: you can't go hunting, you can't go fishing, you can't do anything. You can virtually not even walk out there. And then his Interior Secretary, Kate McGregor, said, that's exactly right, sir, and you are remedying that today. Is that the truth?
That is an absolute lie. You can hunt, you can fish in these monuments. You can also walk in them. In fact, walking is encouraged. And it was incredible to see the president have no idea what he was signing. He literally said that, looked back at the Utah delegation and the Assistant Interior Secretary and said, isn't that right? And they just nodded along. All of our Utah leaders know better than that. They know that that's not true. We have a number of national monuments in this state, and the state actually manages hunting and fishing in those lands. So they misled the president, and it's shameful.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Kate. That was Kate Grotzinger, Communications Director at the Center for Western Priorities. I had actually looked at the hunting and fishing proclamation, and that they are open to hunting and fishing, and certainly walking around. I mean, there's hiking and whatnot down there. So I was concerned about those statements, and I was also concerned that nobody corrected him, including his own Interior Secretary, who actually confirmed that. So
misinformed.
A little bit of bad information here. I don't know that it made a difference. But when we come back, what involvement, if any, did tribal leaders have in this decision from the president? We'll chat with a tribal leader more about that when we come back.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
In case you missed it yesterday in the 11 o'clock hour, we had a great discussion with our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas, where he answered many of the questions our listeners have asked us about the Tyler Robinson case and the preliminary hearing that happened last week. So if you weren't able to join us live yesterday, you can head over to the KSL YouTube page to see the full discussion. And make sure you join us on Inside Sources next week for another edition of Ask the Attorney.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
America First Credit Union has everything you need to get your money working. And for a limited time, new members get a $150 cash bonus for opening a checking account and $200 more for enrolling in and using direct deposit. If you're ready to do more with your money and get up to $350 cash, head to americafirst.com and become a member today. Subject to membership eligibility, terms, creditworthiness, change, and conditions. Additional requirements may apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Lender.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast. on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad. And I feel very proud to be his son.
I was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
Let's continue our conversation on the president's order that significantly shrunk two of Utah's national monuments, Grand Staircase Escalante and Bears Ears. We want to find out what our tribal leaders in the area are thinking about this move yesterday.
And wonder if they were even involved in yesterday's decision, because it doesn't sound like that. But how have they been involved in the past with these monuments? And so this segment, we're going to get that perspective.
We're joined by Davina Smith-Ijeza. She's the co-chair of Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition and represents the Navajo Nation. Davina, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
So our first question is really, what was your first reaction to yesterday's announcement that these monuments are being shrunk by 90%?
Well, my reaction, it was of heartbreak, disappointment, and quite frankly, exhaustion. We have been through this before. And, for Tribal Nation, Bears Ears is not simply a piece of, federal public land or a political boundary on a map. I always have tried to express that it's a living cultural landscape. And so these are ancestral homelands. And, to get that message and to hear that was, very disappointing and devastating, because also in addition to that was the disbanding of the Bears Ears Commission.
Mm-hmm. Tell our listeners, Davina, about the Bears Ears area and what that means to the tribal coalition. What's there, what people can see, and what may be now at risk?
Well, as I just mentioned, it's to me and to the rest of tribal nations, as a living cultural landscape, it is a place where we go to pray, gather medicines, traditional foods, teach our children, and to reconnect with our ancestors. So for me, it's just right outside my window that I can connect to, I can see. I mentioned, to gather medicines, we are traditional people. So things such as gathering sage or cedar, we go out to these areas and harvest for foods like sumac berries. I'm sure people are aware of another devastation, which was the fire. Mm-hmm. There are certain areas on Bears Ears that we harvest these sumac berries. So I too don't even know if that has been impacted by fire. So it's layers. These are layers of what now we have to look at and deal with. So overall, it's a devastation.
Can you remind our listeners about the Bears Ears Commission and who was on that commission and what you did?
So the Bears Ears Commission was proclamated by President Biden, and on that, it is a government-to-government consultation. So that consists of the 5 tribes, which is Navajo Nation. There is also representative from Hopi, from Pueblo of Zuni, Northern Ute, and Ute Mountain Ute. And so that is to directly consult at that government-to-government level.
And what kind of information did you have leading up to yesterday's signing, especially in as much as the shrink was 90%? I mean, did that surprise you, or was that something you were tipped off about?
There was no consultation, period. There was nothing. So to hear that it was of a little over 90% of reduction and the dismantlement of the Bears Ears Commission, that was a complete devastation. Got to punch in the gut and went for the throat. That's the feeling we had yesterday of grieving, because it is now perceived that although yes, we are a sovereign tribal nation, but consultation should have not been treated as a courtesy or as an afterthought. So when decisions directly impact our ancestral lands, sacred places, and cultural resources, tribal nations should be part of that process from the beginning. But instead, once again, we are left responding to a decision that deeply affects our people and our homeland without voices being meaningfully included.
Davina, I know it's only been a day, not even a full day. Do you have any thoughts about what next steps might be for tribal nations in the area?
Well, right now, our coalition, tribal nations, our leadership, we're taking time to fully understand the proclamation and its impacts. I don't want to get ahead of the conversation, but I can say that in our tribes, we remain united, and our responsibility right now, which has always been, is for Bears Ears and our future generations. That has not changed and will never change.
What do you know about the areas that are still preserved? Is there something distinct about those, or do you know why the administration carved out those specific plots?
Clearly for extraction. It's a place in our area of southeast Utah, which the minerals in that area are uranium. And so that is, and I know that very well because my grandfather was a uranium mine worker. And so I do clearly understand and in my homeland, Willamette Valley, Utah, we still have remnants of the past. We have mines that are still in those areas, some that are clean, that have been cleaned, others that are still in that process of waiting. So also in the north side of San Juan County, there was the blasting of the copper mine. And of course, we have our White Mesa Mill. So these are all epicenters for extraction.
So, Davina, I have asked all of our guests today if this whiplash, I anticipate this is the 4th executive order impacting Bears Ears. I anticipate that the next administration will do another executive order. Can you just speak to the impacts of this kind of back and forth whiplash with conflicting executive orders?
It's exhausting. I don't know how many times I might have to wear a neck brace on this back and forth whiplash. But I mean, clearly, as I've mentioned, tribes are not consulted. If all tribes, if the right decision makers were included at the table, I have no doubt there would be an understanding across the board. Of course, we can agree to disagree, but we all love this area. But, these decisions were made without certain parties. And so in moving forward, I hope that these decision makers understand that, our voices will not be silenced, but in order to stop these back and forth, there needs to be a wholehearted discussion of all those members to be sitting down and not excluding tribes again.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us. That was Davina Smith Ijesa. She is the co-chair of the Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition and represents the Navajo Nation. Who joined us this morning. This is, we spent an hour on it, and I think that was important. We heard a lot of different perspectives on it. I don't know that we changed anybody's ideas or opinions of it, but it was certainly a big move and something I did not expect that would be so grand, that the cutback would be so large. We certainly expected it, but not to the extent that it occurred. Even much more than what Trump had done in 2017.
You know, it's interesting. I did read both of the executive orders by the president. And one of the things that's interesting is they talk about the archaeological evidence outside of the still preserved areas. And they basically say, I'm trying to find the exact words, but they basically say, well, there are things out there, but they're not that unique and they're not that important. I'm like, oh, wow.
It was interesting. At our last guest, I asked her a question, tell me about the areas that are still preserved. And her answer was the areas that are not preserved.
That's right.
Areas designated for extraction. In other words, mining, mineral, maybe other kind of development, oil. These are areas that were taken out of the area for extraction. Interesting that was her perspective. Well, we'll continue to track the developments on this change and the almost certain fallout that will occur. Updates on the air as they happen on KSLNewsRadio.com.
And in the next hour of Inside Sources, heat. It's the thing on everyone's mind the last several days. Record-breaking heat and power outages make for a nasty combination. Utah heat wave in-depth coverage coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a man is recovering from burn injuries after transporting a gas can in his car, and his car caught fire when he lit a cigarette while driving through Saratoga Springs. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The man was taking a can of gasoline to his car for his generator near Pelican Point around 8:20 p.m. last night when he decided to smoke a cigarette. Utah County Sheriff's Office says it only took a spark for the fire to start and quickly spread through his car and then to the nearby bushes and grass. The man was burned, but he was able to stay standing and speak with firefighters when they got there. He was then taken to the hospital to treat some serious but not life-threatening injuries. The bush fire was quickly put out since this happened in the same area as an earlier fire. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Inflation eased a bit last month.
The inflation rate fell more than analysts were expecting, 3.5% this June compared to last. At 0.4%, the month-to-month decline was the sharpest in over 6 years. The numbers are based on data recorded before the U.S.-Iran war heated up again, driving up prices. That will be reflected in the July CPI.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Visit Salt Lake is in the process of registering a new nickname ahead of the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. It's calling Salt Lake City America's Mountain City. The name highlights how fast people can go from downtown to the mountains in about 40 minutes. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 90 points. At this hour, we're at 52,408. Coming up, more heat, but with a chance of thunderstorms. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. And here's Cormac Bone.
Well, we've got some pretty serious trouble northbound I-15 in Lehigh. Just after the Main Street exit is a crash. Looks like they're blocking both left and right lane of traffic there. Maybe now 2 left lanes are blocked for the moment. They've on again, off again closed it, so the delays are just very dense, reaching from 2100 North up to Main Street Lehigh. That's once you pass the cleanup, though, you are in the clear really on all of I-15 between that and all the way up to Bountiful. But then again, you get slow northbound between Centerville and Farmington due to that construction zone just before Lagoon. Eastbound I-80, it's just that right lane now as you approach Kimball Junction, and from Kimball Junction over to the US 40 turnoff. Looking for a new ride? Doug Smith offers great savings on new and used vehicles. Big selection, great prices, and great people. Visit us in American Fork, Spanish Fork, Linden, or at heydoug.net. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll get up to 100 today with a chance of a thunderstorm this evening. In fact, we have a chance of a storm every day this week. We should only be in the mid to upper 80s for highs Wednesday through Monday of next week. Right now, partly cloudy, 88 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Utah Heat. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
So the heat is dropping a little. I mean, yesterday it cooled off all the way to 102 degrees.
Oh, it's so comfortable.
There's another 100-degree day today, and then a little bit of relief with some storms and maybe slightly cooler temperatures the rest of the week. We know that.
Yeah, Utah Heat. We've been talking about it for a couple days. We're going to talk about it some more, these dangerous conditions. In the next segment, we want to talk about watering your landscape. With it being so hot and the state being in such a dire drought, should we be prioritizing that? That'll come up next.
But I want to start things off with our air conditioning. I don't know about you, but the AC in my house and my car are both struggling to keep up with the heat at the peak hours of the day. I still have power, though, and several thousands experienced power outages over the last few days in the heat and thanks to the heat, and that is like, a big no thank you.
Yeah, well, because so many homes and businesses obviously have to have their air conditioning on, and that's such a huge drain of power that when there's excessive heat like that, it just zaps the system. I mean, it's really hard on it. And so there are power outages, which is like the worst thing you could imagine for some of these homes.
So Sunday was the day we hit 109, right? The all-time record ever in recorded history in the state of Utah. Rocky Mountain Power reported 182 outages. It had impacted over 17,000 customers. That just kind of feels like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, I mean, because then you're really in trouble. Yeah. Because the whole idea is get out of the heat, get into your house. But if your house doesn't have air conditioning, then you're in a sweat box. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't have more health-related injuries, and maybe we did. But it's a real problem. And, we have solar, which is a miracle that we had it. Because
it can store enough power to cool you.
We have batteries, so they ran the air conditioning. But even the battery company said there's no bigger drain on your batteries than solar, than your air conditioning.
The air conditioning. Yeah. So one of the things that stands out to me about that is I know people have said things like, well, pioneers didn't have air conditioning and they survived. And there's a couple of things that I want to note about that. And we've talked about it when we've talked about Europe. Europe doesn't have air conditioning. They just had, in fact, they're still experiencing a massive heat wave and heat dome. They attribute 10,000 deaths to excessive heat. But I'll say this about the construction and pioneer construction. They're not made, the houses were not made the same way that they're made today. Today, they're made to have air conditioning. It's planned, right?
Right.
The thickness of the walls and having these upper stories, very different
and
than
lots of windows.
Yeah, and lots of windows, right? So that's very different than if you think about a pioneer home, or even in the Midwest where they had sod homes, because you're partway into the ground. And I told you I lived in France. We lived in a home that was over 100 years old, and the walls, I bet they were at least 2 feet thick, maybe more. It really didn't get that hot in the summer because it was so thick. The walls were so thick.
You're younger than me, so you may not remember this, but my first 2 cars didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah,
it wasn't even a product that you could get until probably in the I don't know, maybe the
it was a luxury
or something. It was a luxury, and so we just rolled the windows down and didn't think much of it
manually.
But, by hand, and it was hot. Now I think right now when I roll my window down, it almost seems hotter than just leaving it up and being in a sweatbox without air conditioning. It just, it gets so hot.
So sometimes I've heard it described, if it's hot and windy, it feels like you're standing in front of a hairdryer, right? And it's just blasting you with the heat right in the face. But there were some sad stories, I think, well, at least one over the weekend, about a dog that died of heat exhaustion. So this is a Great Pyrenees, big dog. And they went on a hike in Kane County over the 4th of July weekend. And about 3 p.m., authorities got a 911 call about an overheated dog, and the dog died.
That's a big dog that I think
a lot of fur.
Yeah,
a lot of fur.
I don't blame the pet owner, but you would think a dog like that may be in trouble with heat, their size and their makeup and everything. It's a real problem. When I heard that story, I thought about my own dog, who I take out on my mountain bike on the weekends, and I thought, boy, I should be more careful with her.
Well, we have a couple of little dogs. They're like 10 pounds or less, and they don't want to go outside in the heat. They'll run around the backyard, go to the bathroom, and then they want to come back in and lay on the floor because it's colder. And I know that asphalt especially, but even concrete can burn their paws, right? So it can be dangerous for pets as well.
I talked about the weekend, that bike ride that we did, the organized ride up in Cache Valley that started cool. But the authorities there, the organizers, really encouraged people to ride the shorter event because the 100-miler would take you past noon, where the 77-miler, even for us slow old people, got done at a fairly early time while it was still cool.
It was still hot, you said, though, by the time you finished your ride.
It was plenty warm. I mean, we started at 6:30, so by 11 when I was finishing, it was starting to get warm. But if you were still out on that course after noon, I think you'd have been in potential trouble.
So I also wanted to note this. So we talked earlier on the show, it's been a few weeks maybe, about algal blooms, toxic algal blooms. Well, they've hit Utah Lake, and now there are a couple of places where they're saying don't go swimming at Lincoln Marina Beach or the Saratoga Springs Marina picnic area, and don't drink the lake water.
Yeah, I mean, if it's green. Did you say Mattaway also got affected
by
it? Yeah. Because
they closed down the whole reservoir.
Further north, I mean, you wouldn't expect it to get that far north. That's in Box Elder County, even sort of north end of Box Elder County. Beautiful lake. I'm surprised that area got hit by the algal bloom.
Well, the reason we talked about it on our show a few weeks ago is because there was a dog who drank the water.
Oh, yeah.
And died, because when they say toxic algal bloom, they mean it. Like there are toxins that are released from these. So pets, animals were more susceptible than humans. However, it can make you very sick.
We used to take our boat out, and in Utah Lake, you'd have those algal blooms, and you still see boats. Yeah. But if you're water skiing, you're gonna take some water in through your nose and your ears and everything else when you fall. Yeah. I mean, you just that seems like almost like bad decision. I mean, fishing, I guess, is one thing, but getting in the water, swimming, that type of thing, even with your mouth closed, you're going to get some.
So Utah Lake, it's not over the entire lake. And did you say Mattaway?
Mattaway.
Mattaway. I don't know
That's how I pronounce it.
So,
M-A-N-T-A.
but I wanted to say this about it. there are 3 levels of danger for these algal blooms or other things like E. coli. They're health watch, warning advisory, and danger advisory, and they're at the danger advisory level. Do not swim, do not water ski, do not boat, do not drink the water, keep the animals away. And if you choose to fish, clean the fish really well and discard any guts.
Yeah. 10 years ago, do you remember talking about algal blooms? I don't.
No.
15 years ago? Now it's an every year occurrence.
I think because they don't go away, right? They don't, and especially when you have warmer winters, they come back sooner. So they're maybe suppressed by freezing weather, but when you don't have as much, they come back faster. But they're not killed.
And then to think we even had one at the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., an algal bloom in such a small body of water was just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
That's
so
weird.
quickly. Look, we have a texter that says AC is not required in the current building codes. The houses today are well insulated and hold their temperature very well.
That's true. I mean, but still, I mean, if it's a prolonged heat at 100 plus degrees, no matter what you've got, it's going to be a problem.
I mean, I'm just thinking about my daughter's house that's new. It is wide open in the center of the house, and she probably has, 17-foot ceilings to go up 2 stories. If without air conditioning, I think that would get really hot really fast. But good to know.
Did you ever have a swamp cooler?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works really well until you get the rain in Utah.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't work outside of a desert, though.
I haven't even thought about those for a while, but they were good.
Yep.
Anyway, next up on Inside Sources, we'll stay with the heat. Let's talk about watering your landscape. Should you pull back on watering your trees when it's hot and as dry as it is right now? The answer might surprise you coming up after this break.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
My internet service is rock solid. In fact, it's the most intelligent Wi-Fi you can get. When it detects a problem, it even heals itself. In my house, we're connected with Xfinity Wi-Fi. It hits every corner of the house and it's built for speed. Sometimes I even do my show from home and I never have to worry about losing the connection because Xfinity Wi-Fi is powered by fiber, 99.999% reliability, and even better, the grandkids can watch a movie, play games, my wife can surf, and I'm still rock solid on KSL. And the best part is you can lock in 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best equipment. 5 years, same price, no contracts or commitments. You get everything you need. Data, equipment, plus you'll be online within minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. 5 years, same price, no contract. Go to Xfinity.com or visit an Xfinity store to get started. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. Pigeonship.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful when Mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. I wanted a better relationship with Dad, so I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I'm sure glad I did. Is someone's drinking troubling you? You might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
Inside Sources.
Well, as the heat continues and the drought drags on, what should homeowners do about keeping their landscape alive? We hear about conserving water, but should we pull back on all of our watering?
So the short answer is no. Forestry experts say it's vital to keep watering our trees, but there are ways to do it without wasting water.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that more for homeowners' benefits. A lot of people in our neighborhood, Holly, have replaced their lawns with the Xeriscape and got it to the point where they don't need to do that. But you have established trees, and I've always wondered, you think of a tree as being 20 feet tall, so the roots might be 20 feet deep. That's not necessarily the case if they've spread out and you have a particularly wet landscape. But you wonder if there comes to a point where they simply can water themselves. I mean, they certainly do up on the mountains, but that's a different environment altogether.
So one of the things when we have talked on our show about restricting watering, and they're recommending now only 2 days a week for your lawn, they also are clear that if you planted a new tree, you've got to water that. That doesn't; those restrictions don't apply because you want to keep your trees alive. There's a couple of reasons, but one of them is that the trees, healthy trees especially, they help protect you from heat.
Sure, right.
Right? So you don't have that. What do they call it? The urban heat index,
from the asphalt and concrete.
Right. Because they provide that shade and the cooling, and they improve air quality. And those can be, really important.
I'll tell you, we've got an area we landscaped 20 years ago when we bought the house, and the trees have now grown huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, well, we can't have much of a view anymore. But this summer, I've been grateful that we had them for just what you've said. In the morning, they block the early sun. In the afternoon, they block the late sunset. It's just that, and when you're in them, when you're amongst them, it's a cooler environment because the sun's not hitting you as hard.
Yeah, it really is. So many people I know assume they should avoid watering trees, but the opposite is actually true. In fact, experts recommend that you water smarter but not more. So you give trees a deep but infrequent soak. And that goes to your point about strengthening the root system and letting it send down.
Yeah, well, let's get to the expert on this. We have Tony Gliot. He's the director of the Salt Lake City Urban Forestry Division. Tony, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, Greg and Howie. How are you?
We're doing very well, but we're hot, and so are our trees. And so I'm wondering, we've been talking about trees, and especially let's start with established trees before we get to the new ones. Does there come a point when you don't need to water them, or do we still need to take care of our established trees?
Oh, I love this question, and the answer is absolutely we have to take care of our trees. The trees in Salt Lake City and in northern Utah in general are planted by people for people. We are literally a legacy forest that is a result of the humanity's choice to take care of trees and nurture them for the benefits that they provide. So we do not get enough rain to water our trees. We don't have enough groundwater that they have access to with some deep root system. We have to provide supplemental water, just like we've been doing for 150 years in Salt Lake City.
So what are your recommendations then? How do we take care of our trees during a drought and extreme heat?
Sure. So first and foremost, we need to see and know our trees. A lot of people talk to us, they call the Urban Forestry Division and they say, I have this species of tree, it's this size and it's in this location. How many gallons of water do I have to put on it and how frequently? And those are not the right questions. The right questions are, how am I taking care of my tree on a daily basis to make sure that its needs are met as a living organism that's providing benefit for us? So I'd way rather people focus not necessarily on quantity of water or on duration or frequency, but rather just knowing their tree, getting out there. The tree's going to tell you when it's thirsty, because if you're outside on a 100-degree day like we're having recently here, you're going to think to yourself, that's a living organism there. I think it needs a drink of water. And how we do that for a mature established tree is we want to mimic rain. Okay, so in parts of the country where it will rain for a day or so, and then it may not rain for another month or a few weeks, those trees are thriving in that condition because after a rain, we have a saturated soil that where the water percolates down deep into the ground, where the roots have access to it and can turn it into the resources that they need. So we want to mimic that when we water here. And the best way to do that is with hoses, where we can just put a hose on the ground, water around the root system of the tree till you get a squishy, kind of almost muddy, depending on whether you have grass or just mulch or whatever, environment there where your foot sinks in a little bit. If you're doing that, you only have to water kind of as frequently as it would rain somewhere east of the Mississippi. So you're looking at once a week, and that tree is going to thrive in those conditions.
What about new trees? I mean, they certainly need a lot more love, Tony. And maybe it's not the best time of year to plant a new tree, but let's say you did in the spring and you thought that would be a great idea. Now you're looking at a drought. More than once a week, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So the difference between young trees and mature established trees is that they have far less root systems, and those root systems are shallower and are going to dry out faster. So we do want to increase frequency when we're trying to establish a new tree. So when it's we're having triple-digit heat, we want triple waterings a week, 3 times a week, but the good news about that is they require so much less water than a mature tree. Even though all trees are efficient water users, you're really only talking about 10 gallons of water per watering, 20 to 30 gallons a week for these new trees, and they will be just fine.
So I have a question about the taking care of them every day part. So you said right now, if we use a hose and we can soak them, if we are trying to redesign our yardscape, for example, what type of watering system then would you recommend, like long term?
Oh, sure. Well, the first and foremost, we would want our lawn and our shrubs to be on a different valve than our trees. So that we could, that's our first thing. Because if you have lawn, you have to water it every day or every other day for 15 minutes, however long you're doing that. But trees don't need that, and they're not really benefiting from the type of water that's being applied there. We want a system where we can, where the valve for trees, the zone for trees, is going to run long and provide surface water that gets down into the soil. So first thing is to make sure if you're designing a new system that your trees are in a different zone than the rest of your landscape. Then you can dial in which which above ground heads or soaker hoses or whatever you're going to attach to that system for your situation. You can dial that in.
All right. So last question. I know you sort of answered this, but I mean, I'm thinking my 30-foot pine trees in my yard are good to go. You're saying even those, I ought to give them a little shot of water once a week.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's with trees are they don't like to show us that they're experiencing pain or stress. Eventually they do, and once we start seeing those signs, we could we risk being in a situation where the tree might be failing at a high rate and might have longer term impacts. I'm not saying we couldn't nurse it back to health, but a little extra supplemental water for our trees is well worth the investment that we're placing on them for the benefits that they provide.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Tony Gliot, Director of the Salt Lake City Urban Forestry Division, and super interesting conversation,
today,
really.
Because I always think there's groundwater, but you don't know if there's groundwater where you are, especially
not right now.
20, 30 feet away. I guess you just have to. My dad always watered his pine trees, and I thought, what are you doing? But now I know that's a good idea.
Well, I thought it was interesting to pull up a weather app from someplace east of the Mississippi so that you know when it's time to water your trees, right? When it rains there.
Right.
Okay, coming up on Inside Sources, how do you talk to your kids about the dangers of the internet, AI, chatbots, things like sextortion? Well, as we prepare for back to school season, we're digging into some how to have tough conversations with kids. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, monsoon season has come to southern Utah, and each day the chances of a flash flood increase. National Weather Service meteorologists say to avoid slot canyons and dry washes in the afternoon and evenings when showers are most likely to hit. And this year there is a greater chance of major flooding in places burned by large wildfires. Flash floods in these areas can carry huge amounts of debris since the soil will act more like concrete after a fire. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A federal judge in Florida has called President Trump's lawsuit against the IRS a scheme. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
It's all tied to that $10 billion lawsuit the president filed, then settled with his own government over the leaking of his tax records. It's that settlement, remember, that created the now defunct $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, which could have paid money to Trump's allies, including January 6th rioters. Now, Judge Kathleen Williams is finding that agreement was reached in bad faith, accusing Trump and his team of trying to, quote, manipulate the judicial process and use the court to provide some legitimacy to earmark billions of dollars from American taxpayers.
A federal appeals court has also revived more than 500 private lawsuits against Tylenol and its parent company over claims the drug could be linked to autism. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan says a lower district court judge improperly excluded testimony from 3 doctors offered by parents and guardians who are looking to tie the use of Tylenol during pregnancy to autism. Tylenol's parent company says the appeals court decision does not change the fact that credible independent science shows no proven link between taking acetaminophen and autism or ADHD. Your money at this moment, the Dow is off 118 points at this hour. That's 0.25%. We're at 52,380. Coming up, we'll see some pop-up thunderstorms this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Like a lot of people, I started the new year in 2026 with an idea that I needed to lose weight. And like a lot of people, I did not keep my resolution. And January, February, March came, and I could not lose the weight no matter what I tried. So in April, I hooked up with SOTA Diet Nutrition, SOTADietNutrition.com at the suggestion of some of the folks here at KSL News Radio. And they said, try it. Just give it a try. It's based on food, no pills, no injections. They'll hook you up with a nutritionist. And she, in my case, gave me a plan to follow and said, if you do this, you could probably lose 3 to 5 pounds a week. I lost just over 4 pounds a week and got to my target weight in just 7 weeks. It's been 3 months since I hooked up with the program, and I've maintained the weight without even having to do much more than just follow the diet plan and back on pretty much a normal diet that I had beforehand, but following some of the regulations, some of the things that I learned from SOTA. It's been a valuable program to me. It's something that I will be involved in for the rest of my life. SOTA Diet Nutrition, say it with me, state of the art.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier. Turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
For 250 years, the beating heart of the USA has been the people who call this land home and the communities we make here together. America First Credit Union is proud to have been a part of those communities for 87 years and proud to help our members realize their financial dreams. So come join us in celebrating and succeeding the way Americans always have. Together. Federally insured by NCUA.
If there's one thing you can count on, it's 24/7 protection when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. And if there's two things you can count on, it's your smoke detector battery dying at 3 a.m. Not 3 p.m. on a Saturday when you have nothing going on, but in the middle of the night when you're fast asleep.
Oh, come on!
Get 24/7 protection when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Just one more thing you can count on. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Still slow and go. Northbound I-15 in Utah County from 2100 north in Lehigh, up by the scene of this crash that's just after Main Street in Lehigh. They are still blocking that HOV lane, so you can't use that lane, and that's why it's pretty dense getting through there, but not too long stretching still. Northbound I-15 also slow in Davis County, and that's just at the West Davis corridor off-ramp. Looks like it's construction there. The right lane is closed for that construction. And eastbound I-80, that right lane still pretty full between Kimball Junction and the US 40 turnoff. That's due to a crash that has since cleared off the road. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should see a high of 100 degrees today. Some monsoon moisture has arrived in the state, so there's a chance we'll see pop-up thunderstorms every day for the rest of the week, particularly in the latter part of the day. Right now, it's 91 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So it's only the middle of July, but as I've mentioned before, back-to-school supplies are available at the store. Kids are going back before you know it, really.
Yeah, and before they head out, we thought it might be good to have some conversations and with our kids, whether it's conversations on alcohol, discussions of sexting, sextortion. These are conversations that would keep your kids safe.
But sometimes those are hard to have, and so we have several segments planned out over the next few days, all at about 10:30 in the morning. Today, we're kicking things off with a chat about technology, AI, chatbots, sextortion. There's so much changing technology. And how do you have these kinds of conversations with your kids? Because we know AI is here to stay.
Well, let's get a friend of the show on the line. This is Brandon Amaker. He's the director of Emerging Tech Policy Lab at Utah Valley University, and he's been on our show before. Brandon, thanks for joining us again this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
So I want to start first by asking you just a question about. Okay, here's the big 30,000-foot question: how do we keep our kids safe online?
Oh man, I mean, a question of our age that kind of is defining our age, I think, in parenting right now. I really think that the kind of fundamentals of it, because it varies so much from platform to platform and even from era to era, right? The digital landscape can change so much in 2 years. So what are kind of the underlying principles to look at? Well, one is, I think, understand the platforms that your kids are interacting with online. And I think that is a very fundamental thing. Like if you are a parent, you might not really be familiar with Snapchat, right? You've never used it yourself. You don't really understand what it's capable of and what kind of settings you're willing to let your child have. Really dive into those things early on, download the app yourself, get literate with it so you can understand, okay, what really is the safe limitations that I'm comfortable with, or am I comfortable with this being used at all the way up to what could potentially be the worst possible outcome here. So that literacy, I think, is the fundamental first step whenever you're going to let your child engage on a digital platform.
Brandon, do a lot of these apps have parental control features? And if so, how does a parent learn about them and what they can do and how they can access them?
Yeah, many of them do. Now, I will state outright that the caveat to that is that they're not foolproof. If there's anything that I have learned by watching young kids interact with technology, is they are remarkably good at getting around safeguards. So just be aware of the fact that kids will probably figure out a way to break it. They're really good at breaking things just in general, speaking as a dad. But I think on top of that, many companies like Instagram, they do have pages online that are dedicated resources to help parents get literate with the controls that the platform does offer. So for example, Instagram, I believe, offers teen accounts, which are very restricted. They're connected to a parental account, which gives you a level of oversight and ability to limit the type of things that your child interacts with online. So I would say look for those free resources, which are available through the platform themselves. And then also look at third-party reviews of how well does this actually work? Because you'll probably be able to find forums of parents saying, hey, this is how my teen broke this.
Yeah. So I have a question about really about chatbots. And my concern as a parent, and I've expressed this before, is like there's a lot of, I think, potential danger from chatbots. But one of the things I'm really concerned about is the way kids sometimes use chatbots as relationship experts, right? That they're developing relationships. How, as a parent, can I help my child understand that this isn't a real person giving you this feedback, right? That's not how life works in the real world. How do we have those conversations?
It's an excellent question. And it's something that I think is very, very relevant, because you're seeing them turning to these things not only as advisors, but even in certain cases as companions and even romantic companions, right? That's a trend which we've started to see emerging, which is somewhat concerning. I think on a fundamental level, once again, going back to my original point, is we need to be literate with what this actually is. So then you can explain it to your kid like, hey, this is how these platforms work, right? It's not really your friend. It is there to mirror back to you in a lot of ways what it thinks you want to hear, especially with these companionship dedicated chatbots, right? It's a form of entertainment. So just the same way that, you wouldn't take advice per se from something that you're interacting with in a video game because it's not a real person, this is the same thing, but it has this ability to figure out what you like and what you want and what you're interested in and feed that back to you. And so in a way, it's kind of dangerous because what is coming back at you is really more of a reflection of yourself. And it's something that's designed to keep you interested and keep you engaged.
As a parent, I mean, my kids are grown, so it's and we didn't have a lot of these when they were younger, but there's a fine line, Brandon, between, teaching your kid and trying to keep them safe and spying on them. But I suppose at some point it's important to be able to look and see what your children are accessing, and maybe having, especially if you're paying for their phone and computer anyway, having that visualization to see what they're doing. Do you advise parents to do that?
Yeah. I think the difficult thing that you have to balance, right? And I don't think anybody really has it 100% figured out yet, but is that we eventually are going to have to send them out into the real world and they're going to have unrestricted access to technology at some point, right? That's inevitable. So, complete oversight throughout, from start to finish, or, just completely not allowing them to touch it whatsoever, it's probably not realistic, because you're setting them up for a pretty hard entry into this at some point in their life. So the metaphor that I would use is very similar to allowing your kids to go outside unsupervised, right? If we're allowing our kids to go out into the front yard, probably when they're younger, that's not going to be a thing that we're okay with. We're not okay with you going out by yourself when you're 2 years old and riding your bike around, because you do not possess the faculties to keep yourself safe. So that's going to be supervised for a while. Now, the longer we go, if you start to demonstrate a level of responsibility that you do know how to keep yourself safe, you do know what the hazards are, then maybe we give you a little bit more leash. I'll let you go out for a little bit as long as you're with a friend or with an older sibling, or, and so similarly with these online platforms, up until the point where they're self-sustaining. Right. I think similarly with these platforms, it's more of okay, we're going to introduce you in a limited way. We're going to see how you do with that responsibility. And we're also going to teach you some of these patterns that we're talking about in terms of understanding the dangers of and the benefits of what you're interacting with online. And then from there, we can slowly let the leash out as you demonstrate the fact that you're more and more responsible and capable of keeping yourself safe.
So, gosh, we only have 30 seconds. I don't have a 30-second question.
Can you stick around with us?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think there are a lot of things we still need to talk about, and especially as our young people are getting ready to go back to school, parents, artificial intelligence, chatbots. I mean, there's so many other things that we want to get into. And I personally have questions, even though I don't even have kids at home, just because grandkids and just people that you talk to and you try to advise. So we have a lot more to talk about: technology, keeping our kids safe. Stay with us, Brandon. We'll talk more with Brandon after this break.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products, others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship, founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under fourth-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime, because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
There's nothing like getting outside, moving, and enjoying time with friends. Utah offers endless ways to get outdoors and stay active. Pickleball, hiking, biking, and more. Staying healthy is fun if you do it safely. Intermountain Health recommends taking time to stretch, warm up, stay hydrated, and pace yourself. These small steps keep activities safe and enjoyable for everyone. Because when you make health and safety part of every activity, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
Have you ever missed a segment of Inside Sources, or you want to re-listen to a conversation that you particularly liked? Well, subscribe to the Inside Sources podcast. We upload each segment and the full show every weekday afternoon. You can go to kslpodcast.com or follow us wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, we want to follow up on our conversation with Brandon Amaker, and I'm really concerned about a lot of things that we're hearing and learning about what we do and what we can and can't do with respect to our kids and emerging technology. It wasn't something I had to deal with as a parent, but maybe my own children with my grandchildren should be taking all of this in, and I'm going to take what I can to them.
So we have with us again and still Brandon Amaker, Director of the Emerging Tech Policy Lab at Utah Valley University. And Brandon, one of the things, again, that I'm concerned about as a parent, and first of all, I totally agree with you that if we restrict everything and then, well, there's 2 things that happen, at least this happened in my household, when I restricted gum. I disallowed gum in my house because I was tired of picking it out of the carpet. So my kids found ways to get gum other sources, right? They went around the household and went and got it contraband gum. and then when they had access, it's like, oh my gosh, I love gum. And the newness then kind of wore off. But do you know what I mean? It makes it almost more enticing if you prohibit it. But I also feel like, especially with, I'm going to say, like preteens and teens where their brain's not fully developed, even though you can talk to them about how AI works and how chatbots work, they are also susceptible, I think, to peer pressure, to be the dopamine hits that we know that they get. What other things can parents do you think, that really, as we have these conversations, and I'm thinking about going back to school, I promise there will be a question here somewhere. As we're thinking about going back to school in K through 12 in Utah, now all smart devices are banned from school bell to bell, right? Each individual school can make their own thing. But if they have bell to bell bans on technology, what kind of guidelines could parents place, or what kind of warning signs do you think maybe parents could look for that kids are doing contraband internet stuff?
Oh man, it's a good question. So to kind of break out 2 elements of the question, because you're talking about guidelines and then warning signs. Guidelines, I think a couple things that are good to have is like institutionalize habits surrounding digital technology. Make this routine and make it something that they understand and can expect. So what that can look like, I know there are certain households that they will do random kind of digital audits of their kids' phones. They'll open them up, kind of take a look through everything, see how that goes. The kids never really know when that's coming. Now, once again, that kind of leans into where's the line with the privacy thing? But as long as you establish, hey, this is the rules in our house when it comes to digital technology, this is the level of oversight I'm going to have. And, I think teenagers understand things a lot better when they're institutionalized and they're made part of the routine, as opposed to seeming arbitrary, because arbitrary enforcement is where I think you get a lot of the unfairness. Now, in terms of warning signs, I would say unexpected swings in mood and behavior are very typically a clinical warning sign of something that is, mentally affecting it. But particularly if you're noticing the pattern immediately after interacting with digital technologies. So they spend a lot of time on their computer, they're spending a lot of time on their phone. And then right after that, you start seeing them exhibiting some bizarre behavior or, some kind of a psychosomatic action that seems very atypical for them or for their personality. That's where you might want to start giving some pause. And in terms of, my instinct with teenagers is they can be sneaky, but they're usually not as good at being sneaky as they think they are. So trust your intuition. And the other thing is try to be as open with those conversations as you possibly can be and try to validate their feelings first, because that is the most conducive. They might not open up to you, but I think that validation at least legitimizes you as a source of legitimate help when or if they decide to ask for it.
Brandon, I want to talk to you about a really sensitive subject, and it's something I deal with in my professional capacity as an attorney, and that is sexting and sextortion. And I'm wondering, a lot of kids think that they're having sort of a peer-to-peer conversation and sharing images, which is entirely inappropriate. But a lot of times it's not peer-to-peer, and the person that they are communicating with is really an online predator. And I know this is a question that may not have a very good answer, but what can you tell parents about advising kids and sort of being careful about these? Because once these images are out there, as you well know from your professional capacity, they're on the internet. They're out there, and they're going to be there for maybe forever.
Yeah. First and foremost, I would say it's a topic that is very uncomfortable, but it's something that I think parents should talk with their kids about upfront, and just make them aware of the fact that this is something that could happen. And that's one of the reasons why engaging in this type of behavior is very, very hazardous beyond the kind of the moral or ethical implications of doing it in the first place. I think, for those who are not aware of this is a fairly rampant problem, where you have people essentially getting sexually compromising images from minors and then threatening to release them in exchange for money. And the other thing that I think is very notable about this is that you're already dealing, the teenage years, maybe I should speak for myself, but are a very vulnerable and awkward time, right? And you're already extremely self-conscious. And I think that, this type of thing is targeting a particularly vulnerable group. And unfortunately, these types of cases have been linked to suicides in several times. So I think teaching kids about the hazards of this, but also helping them understand that, hey, if something like this does happen, it is so much better for you to come talk to us than to try to deal with it by yourself. God forbid that you actually do engage in this type of behavior. But if you do, we are here to help you with that. Don't feel like you're alone, because that, I think, is where you get these really negative mental spirals that could potentially lead to very suboptimal outcomes, including suicide.
I appreciate that. And I've shared on this show before that I actually had a son who was sextorted, and he was just overwhelmingly upset. But at least he came to me and said, this has happened, which I told him, first of all, I don't care, right? I wish you hadn't done it, but I don't care because your life is worth way more than somebody else sending me pictures or disseminating pictures, which is what happened is the person who was trying to sextort him was sending inappropriate pictures to me and other people on my son's contact list, right? I'm like, look, from my perspective as a parent, come to me anytime and now, I mean, from that point forward, we've had conversations proactively, but this problem is, it's so just destructive. And I've even heard not only are they actual images, but they can be AI generated images, which is a whole nother level, right, of sextortion. It's like, well, that's not even me, right? But if you feel like your classmates are getting that compromising stuff, then anyway, you're vulnerable, as you said. So we only have about a minute, maybe a little bit less. I wonder if you could just leave us with your maybe optimistic look about technology and youth today.
Yeah. I would say that there's a lot of benefits that can come from technology, but I think that kind of the interacting with youth from a parenting perspective and technology is maybe we need to shift our mindset a little bit, that it's less of a tool, right? We've always thought, okay, this is a tool. This is something that we're going to implement. Think of it less of a tool and think of it more as an environment, right? You are opening them up to this environment that they're going to go out and they're going to interact with, and you can't necessarily control everything that's there. So it's more about teaching them, hey, how do you navigate this safely? What is actually out there? How do you conduct yourself in such a way that you're most likely to have a positive outcome when you're out there? So very similar to teaching them to how to interact in an aquatic environment or out in nature or out when you're camping. Sure, there's hazards, but if you know how to protect yourself, you can really minimize that, and you can get some great benefits out of it.
All right, that was Brandon Amaker, director of the Emergency Tech Policy Lab at
Emerging.
Utah. What did I say?
Emergency.
Oh no, Brandon, it's not an emergency yet, but you're doing the job. Thanks for joining us this morning.
So
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I do want to remind our listeners the 988 crisis line, text or call if you or someone you know is in crisis.
Yeah, what a great conversation.
Yeah.
When we come back, let's revisit our earlier conversation about the president's order reducing Bears Ear and Grand Staircase Escalante. Let's get a different perspective after this.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour from ABC News. Investigators in Mississippi's Jackson County are trying to build a timeline in the lead-up to Nolan Wells' death on July 4th after the teen did not return from a boating trip with friends to a remote island in the Gulf. His body discovered days after his disappearance. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky is in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, with the latest.
It is now 10 days since Nolan Wells was last seen alive, and the mystery over his death is fueling speculation and mistrust. It's putting pressure on the authorities, but the sheriff told us he wants to be thorough, not fast. His parents are now planning a funeral for their son, which his mother, Christine, posted overnight does not feel real. She said all of her emotions are running together, and her post concluded, "We miss you so much, Nolan. It looks like that funeral is going to be early next week at one of the big convention centers here."
The Wells family has ordered an independent autopsy. In local news, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced today they have more full-time missionaries serving around the world than they ever have before.
Right now, there are more than 88,500 missionaries serving full-time. That exceeds the previous record set in 2014 by about 500. In June, Church President Dallin H. Oaks told new mission leaders, "In the coming weeks, we will have more missionaries than at any time in the history of the church." A release from the church says part of the increase comes from lowering the age for young women to begin their service to the age of 18. This new milestone comes just as the church is opening 55 new missions around the world. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 56 points, that's 0.1%. The S&P 500 is up 31 points, that's 0.4%. And oil is up $1.14, that's nearly 1.5%. Coming up, monsoon season is here this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You're in charge of ordering boxes. Small boxes, really big boxes. You're in charge of tape, labels, mailers, bubble wrap, extra bubble wrap. Just for fun. You're in charge of warehouse cleaning and safety supplies. Good thing there's Uline. Thousands of quality products for your business and warehouse needs, always in stock, ready to ship same day, and backed by Uline's legendary 24/7 customer service. Uline makes it easy because you already do enough. Uline, we warehouse for you.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement account? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold, with me, Kenny Michaels.
Now on Saturday at 5 p.m.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Northbound I-15 is still very slow in Utah County. That crash still there, blocking the HOV lane right after 2100 North in Lehigh. Looks like they are clearing those cars out, though, getting the last of them, and there are about 6 of them, then getting the last of them onto the tow trucks right now. So hopefully they'll open it up and those delays will die out. We have some delays on southbound I-215's west belt. This is just as you approach 4700 south. That was due to a police incident. It looks like they are still out in the right shoulder just before you get to 4700 south there. And northbound I-15 still pretty slow in Davis County in that construction zone between Centerville and Farmington. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is the last day it's going to be in the hundreds before it dips back into the high 90s tomorrow with a chance of thunderstorms. High 90s with a chance of thunderstorms, in fact, will be the case clear through to next Monday. Right now, though, it's 91 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So monumental whiplash, that's how I've been describing President Trump's order reducing the size of Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante National Monuments. You know, we spent the whole first hour on this topic getting the perspective of a local county commissioner from San Juan County who's in support of the move, plus takes from a tribal leader and another one from a conservationist group that they have some real concerns about what just happened.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we get the full perspective on this. We've talked about people at the table having these conversations and pointed out some issues that neither Utah nor Native American tribes were really involved in. But let's get to some of our local leaders and see what they really think about this.
So I do have to mention, so we did have listeners who told us, look, not everybody was at the table. And I would say when President Clinton declared the Grand Staircase Escalante Monument, nobody in Utah knew. In fact, the governor at the time got a call at like 2 o'clock in the morning, say, hey, by the way, this is happening today. And it didn't even happen in Utah. It happened down by the Grand Canyon. So Look, I wanted to see if we can bring State Representative Logan Monson into the conversation. He represents this area. Thanks for joining us, Representative Monson.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, I wanted to ask you first, just out of the gate, what was your response to yesterday's announcement that now with the fourth executive order, these monuments have been decreased in size about 90%?
Yeah, I support what has been done. I have been working alongside state and federal partners on this for well over a year, and that's just my involvement, right? So conversations have been happening around this for a long time. This isn't something new that's happening. And like you mentioned, people being brought to the table, like that just, it depends on kind of who's riding the bike, I guess.
And so, Representative Monson, both of these designations are still in the hundreds of thousands of acres, and so they're not insignificant. Do you think that more closely fits with what a lot of people have thought the Antiquities Act was designed for, and that is to sort of the minimum required to preserve some of these antiquities and some of these Native American artifacts?
Yeah, I think so. I think that what we're trying to look at protecting, and protection could be defined in so many different ways, and it honestly depends on who you're talking to. But how we do that, I think you have to start with something small enough to be able to adequately do that. I don't think that drawing lines on a map should really dictate how we care for the land and how we care for these resources. And but I do think it gives us a place to start, something smaller, something a little more manageable, something that makes sense and aligns with the Antiquities Act. But that needs to be reformed as well. I think we've gotten to a place where we have to look at the Antiquities Act and see what it's doing and how we can work that better.
So, Representative Monson, I think both Greg and I, at least me and our guests, were like, this whiplash, though, it causes so much uncertainty. And I would guess that the next Democratic president might do the same thing to increase now the size of these monuments. Is there, besides looking at the Antiquities Act, is there some kind of legislative solution that you would advocate for so that there's some certainty?
I think when it comes down to it, we're looking at management and we're looking at protecting resources. We've had catastrophic fires, especially this year, one still going that's just right next to us here. Millions of acres across the West have been burnt. Communities, watersheds, all of these different things have been impacted. I think we have to look at management, and I think we have to start there. If we keep looking for different results but keep doing the same thing, like you mentioned, this whiplash of back and forth, if we keep doing that and we don't find an alternative way to really solve the problem, we're not going to set the future up to be something that's valuable for the generations to come.
Representative Monson, have you been able to look at the new proposed or new ordered maps enough to make a determination if they do fit within the parameters of what some people feel is the purpose of the Antiquities Act? That is, that they do set aside appropriate areas and not too much land?
Yeah, so I've seen early versions of the map. I don't, to be honest, I have not seen the final version that would match with the proclamation that was signed yesterday. Working on getting that out so that people can see that and see what we're looking at. But when you read through the proclamation, it mentions very specific areas and has some carve-outs for very specific places, protecting resources in those smaller areas. I think that that's what the intention of the Antiquities Act is for. And I think it gives us the opportunity to actually put some protection around those things instead of this blanket of like, this 1.4 million is protected, but how and who's going to do it? It's just really hard to get that done. And so this gives us a better lens to look through, narrows it down a little bit, and I think we'll find that it is going to prove to be valuable if we can make it happen.
Representative, we talked earlier with the co-chair of the Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition, and one of the things that she said is that the tribes in that area were not consulted at all on this issue. And then, of course, the executive order does away with the Bears Ears Commission. Can you talk to us about how the state of Utah wants to make sure that tribal voices are still heard?
Yeah, we've done really good to work with tribal organizations throughout the state and throughout lots of different issues. I don't think that changes. I think one issue we maybe see from the outside looking in is the tribal organizations that want to get involved aren't necessarily based or even close to Utah. So I would personally like to see those tribes represented by folks that live here in Utah, that are recreating here, that are living here, that this is home for them. And I would love to be able to include that perspective because it's a valuable perspective to have.
And what about the relationship between the federal and the state government? Do you feel like this is better, having more state control, more state access, more state ability to? You talked about fire mitigation and that type of thing makes sense.
I think so. Reality is it's still federal land, right? So we have to be able to bridge those relationships to make those work better. We have to make sure that we're bringing the right people in and having the right conversations. And I don't know that has been something that has been set up and really looked at. I think that a lot of times these plans or these areas are looked at by the people that have the most money, that can gather the money and put things together and buy their seat at the table. And I think that's where we need to make a shift to have local partners and local agencies be involved in this.
So on a related question, and we only have about 45 seconds left, what are next steps? What happens next?
I think that too often we spend our time arguing who's in the driver's seat, who's making sure that these decisions are happening, instead of looking at how we can take care of what is being taken care of. I think we have to get together. We have to come together, find a way that we can put a resource management plan together for this and make sure that it actually works. The people next to these lands should have a meaningful voice. They live here. They base their families, their lives here. I think we have to bring these people in as assets and not obstacles.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was Representative Logan Monson, who represents that area. Yeah. And look, if any of our listeners, if you missed any of our earlier conversations on monumental whiplash, you can review our entire special coverage later today on our podcast, which you can find at kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen.
And next up on Inside Sources, did you know that Utahns are known for being pretty passive-aggressive? We might want to talk about that after this.
Well, you would say that.
Stay with us.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The sounds of summer. They're great until they're not. Luckily, AutoZone has free battery testing and charging.
Let me check that for you.
To help make a rough moment smooth. Don't miss the Celebrate Free event at AutoZone. Free products with select deals until July 27th. And free services every day. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years and $116,535.47 to be exact. it just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company, and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan, and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
You know what you can trust? The protection you get when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. You know what you can't trust? Everything else, apparently. Like when you saw that article that said that thing you eat every day is a superfood and great for your gut health. But then 30 seconds later, a different article warns you to avoid it and it's taking years off your life. Well, which is it? Kind of a big difference there. Anyway, bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive for reliable coverage in a reliably unreliable world. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house. Whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival,
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion, and that of the sheriff, is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Okay, Holly, here's a question. Did you know that Utahns are seen as passive-aggressive? Apparently that's something we're known for.
Yes. We are masters in being passive aggressive in the state of Utah. I think it's just embedded in our culture, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought of us that way at Utahns. I guess maybe just you think that everyone's like that a little bit, and it's just part of
right. That's
psyche all around.
On the surface, it looks like you're kind of being nice, but it's not. Right? It's the passive aggressive nature, for example, of a backhanded compliment. So do you know what those are? It's a compliment with a barb.
Yeah.
Like, you look good today. Is it just the lighting?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Or you look good today. Normally you look so tired, right? Or it's like, okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. No, I know, and I sort of think the passive aggressive in a lot of terms, and I deal with people that have that all the time, where you're just like frustrated and like you almost can't avoid the jab that you're ultimately going to get, no matter what's going on, no matter how good things are.
Yeah.
You know, even as an attorney, you do a good job for somebody, and they'll say, well, thanks for all your work, but I was innocent. You know what I mean? Like, I should have stayed with the public defender.
Right. I want to talk more about this with our next guest. It's Dr. Susan Madsen. She's the founding director of the Utah Women in Leadership Project. But before I do, I'm interested in what our listeners think. If you think Utahns are passive aggressive, and if you think it hurts our society, you can text us at 57500. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Madsen. Maybe.
We have lost her twice now.
Okay, well.
I'm still here.
Oh, there you are. Hey.
We can hear you.
We can hear you now.
No, we can't. Okay.
Her phone is being passive aggressive.
Her phone is passive aggressive.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. So while she rejoins us, I want to give you a couple of examples besides the backhanded compliment. It's also something like, and this is also a barbed one. Oh, I wish I could afford a new car like yours, but all my money goes to raising my kids. Right? Or, right? Exactly. Or, you play the victim, right, as a way to manipulate people. Or here's one. Oh, it's super common. If you feel called out, you say yes when somebody asks you to do something, knowing you have no intention of following through, knowing you will not do it. But you don't want to say no, so you say yes.
You think that's passive aggressive?
Oh, yeah.
The person that can't say no?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, it can be part of a broader conversation, but yeah, it is passive aggressive.
Well, I guess if the person that can't say no but really is going to say no, is going to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if you can't say no and you follow through, I mean, then you have maybe some boundary issues you need to work on. But the people who say yes, knowing that they're not going to do it. So, for example, whether it's like a church event and you say yes, of course I'll be there to help set up chairs, knowing you're not going to show up. Yeah. I don't love those things. I'm not going to go.
To get the conversation over with, so you don't have to deal with the with having to say no.
Or you can do professional exclusion, for example, but it's a way where like you keep people out of a loop about a deadline change, and so they don't know and they miss the deadline and then they get in trouble for it. They're not included in the office stuff, but there's always a component of plausible deniability. Well, I'm sorry you were offended.
Yeah, right. Well, let's bring our guest in, Dr. Susan Madsen, founding director at the Utah Women in Leadership Project. Dr. Madsen, thanks for joining us this morning.
Great to be here.
Thank you. So, look, Susan, I think Utah is our culture. We are masters at passive aggression. And I wonder if you can talk to us about why that's a problem.
Well, I have been wanting to write this for a couple of years, and it just hasn't risen to the top of my list. And so I just published a couple of days ago an article on why Utah's passive-aggressive culture hurts us more than we think. And I heard part of your conversation just a minute ago, but passive-aggressive behavior really happens when people are angry, upset, but we don't say that. We want to be, quote, nice, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have, and I heard Greg talk about that he hadn't heard that so much, but I'll tell you, in the last couple of decades, it comes up so often in conversations and speeches, people's questions. So I think it's something that's out there for most of us. And I think we're taught not to have contention. That's part of our culture.
Right.
Don't have contention. I think we get that confused with conflict, because you can have conflict can be really good in the workplace. You just beat ideas around, you come, and that's not even conflict to me. But oftentimes we think that if we're direct, it might hurt people's feelings, it might cause confrontation. So we think that the best place to move forward is just to say things that sound nice at the moment.
Do you think there's something about our culture here locally, that the family-oriented culture or anything else, that makes us more likely to be passive-aggressive than others?
I do think that when we're taught to be kind and nice and all of these things, that we just slip into this passive aggressive. And honestly, great question, because I think when past generations have done it, when our parents do it, when our grandparents do it, we just pick up on that same thing. And this article that I wrote really provides a lot of examples, because I think people talk about the passive aggressive behavior, but they're not sure exactly what it is. And it really is being polite. But sure, I'd love to, but we know we don't want to do whatever they ask us to do. So that's an easier solution, but then we really procrastinate and don't end up doing it. Sometimes a coworker or family member that just ghosts us because they don't want to deal with something more direct. And so again, I've had volunteers say, sure, I'll do something and then never follow through, or somebody that says, hey, no worries at all, but then they complain behind our backs to someone else. So it sounds at the moment, it's in a moment that it sounds like, oh, we don't want to, offend or whatever. But honestly, if we would be more direct, it's a better situation for all.
I agree with that. And I wonder if you could give us maybe at least one example of something we can say if we feel like there's some passive aggression going on, or what is it we can do to kind of interrupt that cycle? That's a great question. One of the things that I've learned to do is when something happens, I say often, oh, that's interesting. And then why? Why, it doesn't work for everything, but for many of these situations, just asking them a few questions helps them think more directly through that. And so ask them what they're feeling. It's really being more direct, choosing direct communication over indirect expression. That's what we're asking. And so listening and asking them a few more questions, I think is one of the ways to do this better.
I have a dumb question, but how do I know, Dr. Madsen, if I'm passive aggressive? I mean, I'm hearing things and hearing sort of definitions and wondering, boy, do I cross that line?
Well, I think a lot of us do on occasion. When especially when we're tired or whatever, or don't want to deal with something, we just push it aside. I think, I'm a pretty direct, Holly knows me. Holly, you're direct, I'm direct. But still, there's times that I'm like, I think I was just passive aggressive right there. Just like it doesn't matter or so forth. If you really want to understand if you are or not, ask someone that knows you well. Ask Holly.
That's a great answer.
I actually asked him if attorneys were passive aggressive because I don't see that in Greg, but I had to learn to overcome that because I learned in my house growing up to be passive aggressive. It's the play nice thing and the barbed compliments. And I had to really learn. And I might have gone too far the other way. I'm very blunt, but people always know where I stand. So.
What we know from the communications, and Holly, you've probably had some of the same education, is that longer term, people do want direct communication. If you're an employee and people are like, oh, you're doing fine, and then a year later when you're at the performance, annual performance review, and they say, well, you're not doing this and this, and it's like, why didn't you tell me like the week I started? Yeah. But people think that's rude, but it's not rude. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to be direct, and it can help people. But the one that pops up for me, Holly, I'll just admit it here online, is I have a streak of sarcasm. And sometimes, not all sarcasm gets into passive aggressive, but some of it can be.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Susan Madsen.
That was fun.
It was fun. And at least you found it fun. Anyway, I don't know. Up next on Inside Sources, we're going to stick on the topic of Utah and what makes Utah unique. But there's a new list that says Utah is actually one of the worst states in the country to live in. We're going to talk about that.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. A big reversal from President Trump on the issue of tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has the latest.
President Trump is now backing off his threat to push for a 20% toll on cargo moving through the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for helping ships get through, instead claiming on social media that the U.S. would now have new investment and trade deals with Gulf allies. The reversal comes a day after the president said there would be a 20% toll on ships in exchange for safe passage, but he didn't explain how that would work. The president again claimed the Strait of Hormuz was open to all shipping traffic, despite Iran's claims that it had closed it. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
In other national news, a rare appearance on Capitol Hill as two Supreme Court justices sat before a House Appropriations panel to explain why the court needs millions of dollars for increased security. Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Elena Kagan says it's because of a rise in threats to the nation's highest court. Justice Kagan offered a brief breakdown on the spending.
Aside from annual inflationary increases, recent growth in the court's budget has been almost entirely for security expenses.
The last time we saw justices testify before Congress was in 2019. The justices can expect to respond to very detailed questions on the $228 million request for the next fiscal year. Nearly $15 million of that would go to expanding personal protection for justices. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 37 points. That's a fraction of a percent. The S&P 500 is up 35 points. That's nearly 0.5%. And oil is up 87 cents. That's a little over 1%. Coming up, it's going to fall back into the 90s this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, it's Greg Skordas. What if I told you that 4 weeks from now, everything can feel different, including your energy, your weight, and the way your clothes fit? That's what Soda Dynamic Diet did for me, and that's what it will do for you. My first 4 weeks with Soda, I lost 18 pounds. After 7 weeks, I'd lost 30 pounds. Right now, listeners can get 4 weeks free when they call 866-800-SOTA and mention KSL Radio. Soda Diet and Nutrition teaches you how to let go of the weight and keep it off for a lifetime with no shots, no pills, just real food, expert guidance, and habits that last. Weight loss medications can cost a lot, and for many people, the bill does not end. Soda is different. Degreed nutritionists help you get the root cause of your challenges, guide you one-on-one, and teach you lifelong habits so that you can lose the weight without signing up for a lifetime bill. Get 4 weeks free when you call 866-800-SOTA and mention KSL Radio. SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Hey, we want you to join the conversation. Do you have an idea or topic you think we should talk about more on the show? Let us know. Send us an email at insidesources@ksl.com and tell us what you think we should cover. We're always looking for new ideas, and we would love to keep you, our listener, included in that chat.
On Thursday, August 13th, the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation will honor United States Senator John Barrasso with the Titan of Public Service Award at the Grand America Hotel in Salt Lake City. Enjoy an unforgettable evening celebrating distinguished public service, featuring an exclusive conversation with Senator Barrasso and a special performance by renowned pianist Steven Nelson. Seats are limited, so reserve your tickets today at OrrinHatchFoundation.org. That's ORRIN Hatchfoundation.org.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
Well, the crash on North 15 in Lehigh has completely cleared off the road. All vehicles out, even from the left shoulder, so there's no delays there anymore. Where we do have slowdowns on I-15 is northbound, going from Centerville into Farmington, right where the West Davis corridor meets the road. And it looks like that's residual from construction. Still pretty slow, especially in those right lanes. At UTA, it's never just a ride from point A to point B. We move independence, we move purpose, we move memories, we move what matters. You plan your trip at rideuta.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today we're going to hit triple digits. Sunny with a chance of some light thunderstorms. Tonight, some patchy smoke is going to hit the air, and the chances of storms will linger into tomorrow. Highs are going to fall back into the 90s for the rest of this week. Right now, though, it's 91 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Utah often tops the list of best states, and you know that I say that, right? We're number one.
You do.
So there's a new ranking out from CNBC that kind kind of caught me by surprise. But one of the things I've always mentioned when we have these number one rankings is it depends on what you look at. So this analysis says Utah's one of the 10 worst places to live in the country.
So
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the June 2026 third best state economy by Wallet Hub. May 2025, number one state for a third year in a row by U.S. News and World Report. March 2025, cheapest state to start a business by CNBC. January 2025, number 3, friendliest state for entrepreneurs. Like what metric are we looking at here that puts us 10th in the bottom 10?
Well, that's a good question. So this report looked at quality of life issues. And you know, there's the Wallet Hub ranking that puts us number 51 for women's equality. People in Utah don't like that. And it's like, look, you got to take the good with the bad, because if we're number one in some things, we're not number one in other things. And so this looked at quality of life issues like hard data on factors like crime rates, air quality, and health care. Other criteria used were cost and availability of childcare. We don't rank high there at all. Inclusiveness of state laws and reproductive rights.
So crime rate, you'd think we'd be very good. Air quality, especially this year, is awful.
Not good.
Especially along the Wasatch Front because of our valleys and the way that the air settles into the valleys. So, no, I can understand that. I also think that our climate here we're in trouble. The extreme drought has to be causing a lot of people concern about coming here.
So one of the issues is access to primary care providers. And so we've talked about that a little bit on our show before, where we have healthcare deserts, right? We've talked about it in terms of moms receiving maternity care, that there are OB deserts. And this ranking put Utah 47th based on access to primary care providers. So we have 96 providers per 100,000 residents. There was only one state worse than us, and it was our neighbor, Idaho, with 95.4.
So you think that Utah has incredible primary care providers, maybe just not enough.
It's not enough. It's not the quality of, it's the number of, it's
sense.
The quantity of. And so Washington, D.C. got the top spot. They have over 515 primary care providers for every 100,000 residents. That's more than five times what we have.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
That's
access
why it's so hard
to
to get
healthcare.
into
a new
doctor, right?
My husband went to see a specialist. It was a 6-month waiting list. My brother, the same, 6-month waiting list before he had the first visit, 8-month waiting list to actually get the surgery that the specialist recommended.
So are doctors just not wanting to come here, do you think? Or that's an unusual
thing. Well, that's
a
bigger conversation. Actually, we do know that there are medical schools here where they've seen a real drop-off in people wanting to specialize, for example, as an OBGYN, because we have some really restrictive laws that some doctors don't want to train under.
Right. Air quality, probably not a surprise there. We are not doing well in that category because what are we, 40th? Let's face 48th for pollution. Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah, that's.
But we do have a big pollution problem.
We do. We also were dinged for the cost of living and childcare. So in fact, this is from the Deseret News. This is Art Raymond, and he said CNBC skewers Utah for running askew of its nickname as the family-friendly state because the state's minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. It barely covers 16.5% of the cost of living for a family of 4.
Yeah, that's really bad. I mean, and Utah needs to step up to the plate on that. I know that there are reasons why we keep it low, because people think, I don't know, the legislature and some small businesses think that in some respects you've got to keep some of these wages down, but we've got to get that number up. $7.25 an hour.
Yeah. And we know that
nobody's going to work for that.
Most places don't pay that anymore, but that's one of the things that they look at. I think they also looked at childcare. And availability. So we have childcare deserts here as well. So they're saying that Utah ranks 45th for childcare in a report published last month from Baby Center using data from Childcare Aware.
Yeah, and we have 0.26 childcare spaces per child, which is actually the lowest in the country.
Right. So look, there are areas. In fact, our last guest, Dr. Susan Madsen, she's pointed out some of these areas. So There are a number of them. In fact, she has another new report out about how Utah's anti-DEI laws have impacted women in leadership. So we know that there are metrics where we can do better. And what I wish people would take from reports like this is, instead of the knee-jerk response of, oh my gosh, they're wrong and they're dumb, is to say, okay, what can we learn from reports like this? You can say, yes, Utah's number one when it comes to certain economic metrics, but they're not number one in every aspect. There are ways we can get better.
Yeah, and we actually 6th to last place in places to live. I mean, the bottom at the
we were the only
worst,
one in the West to even get
the worst
get
state
there.
to live is Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Louisiana, Georgia, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Missouri, and then Utah. That's not a good place to be.
And again, remember, we're looking at different metrics. So there are things where people are like, look, I love to come to Utah for the great outdoors. However,
right.
Air pollution can be a problem, right? I love to come to Utah because there's some economic opportunity here. However, the cost of living is high. The cost of housing is high, right? So there are, I think, things that we can learn.
I think, yeah, I don't know that I agree with this. I like a lot of the things we do in Utah, and I think it's still a great place to live, great place to start a business, great place to start a family, raise a family. I mean, I really do. But I do think that some things have happened here in the last several years that have made it much more difficult, and not the least of which is the cost of living and the cost of housing.
Yeah. We mentioned air quality. The American Lung Association says that the Salt Lake, Provo, Orem area ranks the 13th worst in the United States for ground level ozone. So it's one of the worst in the countries. And this is a different organization, right? The American Lung Association. So look, there's, again, lots of things to be proud of, but I think we need to be eyes wide open also and say, look, there are things we could do better. Let's not knee-jerk say, well, those are dumb people who just did that survey.
Well, step it up, Utah. We do so much better in so many things, but anyway, we'll
There are some things we can do. There are some things we can do better.
Well, coming up on Inside Sources,
the snack that smiles back. Goldfish.
Do goldfish deserve rights? Not the snack goldfish, but actual goldfish. Well, a court in Argentina thinks so. Somebody wants me to give the legal analysis on this. I'm going to have a hard time with it. But stick around. I'll do the best I can when we come back.
Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone saying you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's the real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half, plus try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. That means you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Wild. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to xfinitymobile.com, or visit your local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes, fees, extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only after 12 months. Regular rates apply. Go to xfinitymobile.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
Hey, I'm not one to say I told you so, but do you remember last year when I told you that Pure Talk was hands down the best wireless company that I'd ever used? Well, some of you were skeptical, but Consumer Reports just asked 120,000 people to rate every wireless company in America, including the big boys. Well, guess which company was the only company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. No service contracts, no cancellation fees, just great U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network for a fraction of what you've been paying. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I will encourage you one more time to dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't let you down. Pure Talk.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. When a Utah family faces a crisis, whether it's an unaffordable utility bill or a child who needs a strong start, Utah Community Action is often the first call. Joining us to share more about the impact of their work is CEO Jennifer Godfrey.
Utah Community Action serves over 51,000 Utahns every year through high-quality early childhood education, housing stability, and workforce development programming. Our mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and build communities through education and self-reliance programs. That's what makes UCA unique, is our wraparound approach. For example, take a child like Jasmine, who was brought to our Head Start program by Albert and Nina, her parents. While participating in parent engagement events, Albert learns about our workforce development training opportunities. When he completes the program, he was able to find employment that significantly increased his monthly income. Meanwhile, Nina learns about our home weatherization program, which is designed to make homes more energy efficient through high-quality home improvements. UCA specializes in assisting individuals experiencing poverty break out of poverty.
With 45 locations across Utah, Utah Community Action continues to support communities where help is needed most, helping create brighter futures for generations to come. To learn more, volunteer, or get involved, visit utahca.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
So when you go into a sushi bar, one of the things you don't usually see on the menu, actually you never see on the menu, is goldfish. And I don't mean just the goldfish that you eat, the little crackers that my grandkids love.
So a court in Argentina found that a pair of goldfish who were living in a tank at a sushi restaurant have rights. Not just the right to not be eaten, but actual rights afforded to, as the country calls it, sentient beings.
So this is weird, and I had to read it more closely. But what happened was this restaurant had a goldfish tank, as a lot of restaurants do.
Right.
A lot of Asian restaurants have beautiful tanks.
Right.
And one of the guests, one of the customers, was looking at the tank and said, "This place is a pigsty. This is not a suitable place for goldfish," and filed a complaint under their Animal Rights Act. And the court said, goldfish have the right to be in a nice, pretty home. Mm-hmm. They have rights too. Goldfish have rights too. I mean, it was an interesting case because at first I thought, goldfish. I mean, I've had tropical fish and I always try to take good care of them. But yeah, if you're going to have animals, you're going to have fish, whatever, birds, pets.
Well,
treat them right.
So the question is, what legal rights do non-humans have? And I think that's really interesting because that's where you get to the sentient life, right? So it's typically right now invoked in animals, in cases of animals,
sure,
but not exclusively. So I wanted to share a couple of things that I found for you. So Switzerland has a constitution that recognizes the dignity of living creatures, requiring animal welfare considerations to be integrated into all policies. There's a non-human rights project, they call it that. It pursues legal recognition of personhood and fundamental rights for animals like chimpanzees and elephants, and that's in the U.S. But there are other ones, too, where people are trying to say, okay, this tree can be a sentient being.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was a scout, we were taught not to carve our initials in the trees because, some of them have very sensitive bark, and you could cause harm to the tree, and trees deserve to be treated fairly. I think that makes some sense.
So trees have an interesting warning system, but you know what? Plants in the garden do too. So lettuce has a way to communicate with other lettuce, and it's super interesting to me because it's like, okay, you're gonna be a vegetarian, but your lettuce is telling people if you cut lettuce, it literally sends a signal to other lettuce plants nearby that there's a threat, and they become bitter. Like they send out, like there's, I don't know if it's a hormone or whatever, a pheromone or something, right? It doesn't taste bitter, right? It tastes bitter. So there's a case, the first habeas corpus petition that was filed on behalf of a non-human animal was in 2005. It was for a chimpanzee in Brazil. That chimpanzee died before being transferred to a sanctuary. But from then on, so that's been more than 20 years, similar cases have been popping up in other countries. So there was a case of Sandra, who was an orangutan born in Germany, who lived in the Buenos Aires Zoo for 20 years until she was declared a non-human person in 2014. And then the ruling held that her captivity and exhibition violated her rights, even though she was well-fed and did not suffer mistreatment.
Yeah, I mean, we have animal rights laws, and I understand this whole sentient beings. It makes sense. I like it. You know what's never going to be a sentient being? Your car. If you want to go smash your car with a sledgehammer, I don't think anyone...
If they are AI run, what if they say, Greg,
hey, don't. Or what if it's
stop doing that.
Now, if it's not
Greg.
your car, then it's a different problem altogether. We call it
I don't know.
vandalism.
What was that? Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Okay. So my fun facts for today. So today is Tuesday, July 14th. I mentioned this yesterday. It's Bastille Day in France. It happened in 1789 when French revolutionaries stormed the Bastille. You know how that worked out. A lot of people lost their heads. But I mentioned this yesterday. Well, they did.
That's right. That's true.
I mean, literally.
Good way to put it.
France faces Spain in the FIFA World Cup semifinals today. So I don't know if there's...
On Bastille Day.
I know. I
That's
don't know
great.
if there's anything extra for France.
It's always... the Tour de France is always...
right around
occurs
that time.
during Bastille Day.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
going right now.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's also National Mac and Cheese Day, which goes along with the next thing, which is Cow Appreciation Day. So if you go to your participating Chick-fil-A's between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you are wearing cow-themed attire, you do not have to dress like a cow completely, but cow-themed attire, you get one free entree, and kids 12 and under get a free kids meal on Cow Appreciation Day.
Boy. And
Eat more
I like National Mac and Cheese Day. When was the last time you had mac and cheese?
I
actually
last
like
week.
it. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not on our menu very often, but I really like it.
Oh, so on this day also in 1099, Jerusalem was captured in the First Crusade, which I thought was super interesting. Also in 1798, the Sedition Act became federal law. And in 1870, the U.S. Congress granted Mary Todd Lincoln a life pension in the amount of $3,000 per year.
It must have been one of the first pensions granted to
For
the
a widow.
or of a
President,
prominent person.
probably.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So 1881, on this day, Billy the Kid was shot and killed by Sheriff Pat Garrett. Do you know how old he was? Because he was just a kid.
How old?
He was only 21. He started his life of crime early.
Yeah.
Early. So this is also Gerald Ford's birthday. He was born in 1913. In 1933, this is not a fun fact, Germany began mandatory sterilization of people with hereditary illnesses. And they also was the same day that they declared all political parties illegal except for the Nazi Party. And interestingly...
Mandatory sterilization. I mean, I think there are people that would do that today if they had the right.
Oh, absolutely. That's which is terrible.
Terrible.
It was on this day, too, so this is pertinent to current events. In 2015, the world's biggest powers and Iran struck a deal to curb Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relief from international sanctions. And today we're bombing them. So
yeah, well, that didn't go for too long. So I want to talk about something we've talked a lot about today, and I'm going to have a take you may absolutely not expect.
Okay.
That is on this monument situation, and I'll say this. The Democrats, I was going to say we Democrats, but I'll go ahead and say that, shot ourselves in the foot on that, and I'll tell you why. Presidents have for 150 years had this right to do these antiquities and have set aside large swaths of land. Not necessarily huge, but one of them, the Yellowstone was some 800,000 acres. Clinton comes around and decides 1.7 million acres for Grand Staircase Escalante. Obama 1.3 million. Those were destined to fail. Those were destined to fail, and I those were two my favorite presidents personally, but those were bad decisions because had either of those presidents, now I'm going to get in trouble from both sides, said let's set aside 500,000 acres, nobody would have done anything. Instead, they set aside a total of 3 million acres, and now those are down to 200,000 acres each. And which is the back and forth, the whiplash that you've talked about repeatedly today is the result of this problem. I really think had Clinton said, let's set aside 830,000 acres, and Obama said, let's set aside 580,000 acres, nobody would have cared. But when you get to 3 million acres and in two swaths of land in Utah, people are going to start looking at that and going, have we gone too far with this antiquities thing? And again, I'm going to get in trouble. I think we went too far. I really do. Trump did the exact opposite. He went way too far the other way, but it's because we begged for it. The tree huggers, whatever you want to call it, the people who are like trying to preserve all this land, begged for it by saying, let's just set aside 3 million acres in Utah so that nobody can do some certain things on it. And it just got the public thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe we've gone too far. I really think those presidents bit off more than they should have, and that had those designations been more palatable for a lot of people, we wouldn't be here. Now, Trump took it way too far the other way, but again, that's what he does, and he's sending his own message. So maybe we'll have a president in the future who will reach some middle ground, and maybe we can come to 400,000 or 500,000 acres for each one, and everyone feel good about it, and bring the Native Americans into this and say, what do we really want? What makes the most sense? And let's get to a number that everyone can live with. And I think there is a number, but we're not there now, and we weren't there yesterday. I think maybe the future, some people need to get together and decide what makes sense.
All right. Thanks for your closing arguments, Greg. Police say a stabbing at a Utah mall yesterday was a targeted attack because of the victim's religion. Bystanders stepped in to help end the attack. There's much more in this story